The third lecture on 8.1 addresses the concept of an angle, and an angle is a union of two rays. So if you think about our rays, we had an endpoint. There's one ray, and they're going to share the same endpoint. So they're going to share the end point. The vertex is this common endpoint. So that's what we'll call the vertex, is the common endpoint. And obviously that's right there. And the side is each ray. The interior of the angle is the inside, while the exterior is the outside. And so what's going on here, we have three disjoint sets. So if we look at this angle, where are my two rays? Here's my vertex. We have the inside, called the interior. We have the outside, which is called the exterior. And then we also have the angle itself. So those are my three disjoint sets. And in that is a plane. Naming angles. We name them by their vertex. So if I had put a letter on this vertex, I would have called that angle A. Or we name the angle, and this is a symbol for angle, with 3 points. And those would be on the rays and the vertex itself. And this is always the middle. So if I had a point on each of these, I would label that B, A, C. Notice the vertex is in the middle of my name. I can measure angles, and the device I use to measure the angle is a protractor, and we'll be looking at protractors and using them in class with our explorations. And when I measure an angle, the units of the angle are in degrees. But these degrees can be broken into minutes and seconds, kind of just like the clock. So degrees have the degree notation. The minutes have 1 line, the seconds have 2. And you probably can guess there are 60 minutes in 1 degree, and there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So those are just the smaller units of a degree. We have some common benchmark angles. And these benchmark angles come from what we call special triangles. Our benchmark angles are 30, 60, 90, and 45. Now, why would these be benchmark angles? Well, if I have an equilateral triangle, which we'll learn in section 8.2, every angle is 60. But if I bisect that angle, I now have this right triangle, which we talked about. That's how I'm going to denote the 90 degrees. I bisected the 60, so it was 30, and then the other angle is 60. So this is what we call an equilateral triangle. And then we can also use an isosceles triangle, where these sides are the same length. So these angles are the same size. They're 45, 90, and 45. So again, we'll refer to those in much more detail here as we move through the chapter. A right angle, once again, is a 90 degree. Acute, people remember this by acute, less than 90 degrees. Obtuse is between 90 and 180 degrees. As soon as I get to 180 degrees, that's going to be a straight line. So obtuse is something like this, bigger than 90, where a straight line angle would be 180 degrees. So if I went from here to here, that would be 180 degrees. And a reflex angle is an angle that is greater than 180 degrees. So if I go back up here to my obtuse, this angle here would be my reflex. This angle in here would be my obtuse. Adjacent angles have these characteristics. First, they have a common side. They share a common side. Secondly, they share the same vertex. And lastly, interiors are disjoint. So they don't share anything in their interior. So we call those adjacent angles. We'll be looking at these in an exploration. So there's my angle, A. So adjacent angle will be right next to it. So here's one angle, here's another. Let's see, they share a common side. The side they're sharing is right here. They share the vertex A, and notice their interiors are disjoint. They have nothing in common. We look at these adjacent angles, and if by chance they sum to 90 degrees, we call them complementary. And I remember that because 90 is before 180. Complement, C comes before S supplement. That's just kind of a little way to help yourself remember those angles. And lastly, a vertical angle is formed by two intersecting lines. So if I have two intersecting lines, the blue line, notice it continues in both directions, the green line, they are opposite of each other. So angle 1 and angle 2 are what we call vertical angles. And that concludes the lecture for 8.1, Part 3.